It was really loud.
Well, I tell you,
Like
the bedroom door started going like this morning. That's what woke me up.
A home leveled. The blast shook the streets of this community. Good evening, I'm Marivel Tarouk. One man is dead after a house explosion in Caledon. Dozens more displaced. Our Talia Ricci spoke with residents shaken by the early morning devastation.
What was a home is now unrecognizable. Early this morning, this community was jolted awake by the explosion.
One big bang for seconds. For seconds, the house shook. Shook. I mean shook.
It was loud enough and made me jump, actually. I'm like, where am I?
Vibration. The door was vibrating, so I woke up.
Worried neighbors quickly gathered outside, trying to figure out what happened.
I thought it was a transformer. I go, no. I go, not possible. It had to be more than one transformer. I go.
But of course, it was much worse.
To find out after that it's a house that's demolished, and I just feel my heart just goes out to them.
The man who died was 54-year-old Joseph Westcott. There were no other injuries, but several nearby homes were badly damaged.
We have about 30 to 35 people at moment that have been evacuated.
Due to some of the structural integrity that those houses may have faced, there's also concerns that those gas mains may have also been ruptured, as well as any other hazards of debris. There's some debris that's up into the trees on several roofs in the areas. It's spread out over a couple of streets. Fire
officials are still investigating what caused the explosion. Meanwhile, people are pulling together to help.
No one's going to go hungry. No one's going to be out on the street. We make sure that they get all the things they need to survive until they can get back to their home.
For those who live close to where this explosion happened, Red Cross tells us it could be months before they're able to return home because of the structural damage done to some of these houses. In the meantime, they're helping residents book hotels. With the amount of debris this explosion caused, the cleanup will be extensive. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Caledon.
Well, the biggest sporting event of the year turned out to be a low-scoring affair, but that didn't matter to tonight's Super Bowl champs, the New England Patriots. It is the 6th Super Bowl win for quarterback Tom Brady and the Patriots. They beat the LA Rams 13-3. The game itself set a new record. It was the lowest scoring Super Bowl in NFL history. Well, among the many places hosting Super Bowl parties tonight are Toronto's Good Shepherd Ministries and Covenant House. For the third year in a row, the two shelters are hoping the year's biggest sporting event will give those inside an escape from the struggles they face every day. Kelda Yoon reports.
Compared to other Super Bowl parties, this is a more subdued crowd. But for many of the 95 men staying here at Good Shepherd, including Vincent Cripps, it's more about camaraderie.
Talk to other people, right? Instead of being alone. That's probably the main reason.
Though he is begrudgingly cheering for one team over the other.
New England, he is the best quarterback in the league.
The first ever Super Bowl party held here at Good Shepherd was back in 2017. Pizza offered to donate free slices for those watching the game. The shelter then decided to throw a full-on party, including renting a big screen television.
It's pretty well become an annual event now. I think it lifts up their spirits, especially after a week like this where it's been so miserable cold.
This time around, Rabifine Foods jumped on board, donating all of the food as well as the TV and sound system. They did the same for Covenant House, a shelter for at-risk youth down the street.
I think everybody deserves a chance to be social and forget their troubles for a little while. I think that's why we watch the Super Bowl.
For Richard Zaraba,
this is my first time to watch what do you call it?
It's his first Super Bowl party. He arrived at Good Shepherd as a refugee from Uganda just 2 months ago. Since he doesn't have a team to cheer for, he says he's focused more on
just having fun.
Adding that the shelter and events like these have given him something he's rarely experienced.
But they showed me love back in my country. I couldn't feel it when I was there, but right over here, at least they give you hope to just like to know, but sooner or later things are going to be okay.
Already looking ahead to next year, Rabifine Foods said they will definitely be on board again with an even bigger TV and a better sound system. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
If you were watching the Canadian broadcast of the Super Bowl, you may have seen an ad criticizing General Motors. The workers' union ran the commercial despite a cease and desist letter from the company, all to protest the closing of GM's Oshawa plant.
So when GM needed help, we gave them $300 from every single Canadian.
The company's legal counsel sent the letters to Unifor demanding the union pull the video. The letter says the ads contained false statements, but Unifor president calls it an intimidation tactic by the automaker. Super Bowl Sunday always attracts millions of enthusiasts, but the game of football is under a growing cloud of the long-term effects of head trauma. And in California, one youth football program is now facing a lawsuit. CBC's Kim Brunhuber has that story.
Down!
The Eagles of El Segundo. These kids, ages 5 to 14, may look like little bobbleheads, but the hits, you can hear them from the stands. The team plays in a league run by Pop Warner, the largest youth football program in the U.S.
Right.
Over the last 10 years in the U.S., participation in youth football has dropped more than 20%. According to some studies, these children will take an average of 250 hits to the head each season.
Unfortunately, I think they've painted a false narrative that youth football is going to kill your kid.
I miss my son. I lost my son. I'll never see him again.
Joe Cornell's son Tyler played tackle football from the age of 8 to 14. Then in 2014, he killed himself.
He'll never give me a hug. I'll never make him a meal. I'll never have him come through my door.
A brain autopsy revealed he suffered from chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, a degenerative brain condition that has been linked with sports that involve repeated blows to the head, like football. Kimberly Archie's son Paul, who also played youth football without sustaining any concussions, died 5 months after Tyler. Now Archie and Cornell are suing Pop Warner, claiming the football program didn't do enough to warn parents or protect children from the risks.
So this is a bio-like brain.
Dr. Chris Giza is a neurologist who specializes in sport concussions and traumatic brain injury.
Or when the head rapidly accelerates or decelerates, you can see that the brain in there is actually moving around and bending and stretching, and that's what can lead to the biological changes that occur.
He says there's evidence to suggest headshots are more damaging to young players because their brains aren't fully developed.
The insulation on the wires in the brain is called myelin, and the young brain has less of that insulation.
Full speed?
In a society gone soft, Wagner says, football will help transform these boys into men. But the mothers who say they've lost their sons to football fear parents may not realize what they've signed their boys up for until it's too late. Kim Brunhuber, CBC News, El Segundo, California.
Let's check in with Sophia now for the weather forecast. Boy, we went from shoveling to, I guess, running water in some parts of the city for sure today.
I am everybody's best friend right now. And here's something else for bragging rights, because I haven't had a lot of good news lately. I know I've been the bearer of bad news. Now, for the last week or so, our friends in the south coast of BC have been talking about how it's been so warm the cherry blossoms are in bloom. We did a flip-flop, quite nice. Their normal high, this time of year, about 7-8 degrees. We were that at Toronto Pearson today, and we should be about -2. So when does it dive back down? Well, for Monday, we hang on to relative warmth. It'll be foggy for the Monday morning commute. We'll talk about that in a minute. Fairly warm still, and we have another run at double digits for Monday evening and Monday afternoon, but it'll come with rain. Let's talk about the morning commute first, because all this warm air, this southerly flow that's pushing up is overriding that kind of entrenched colder air at the surface, and it's going to mean quite a bit of fog, so lower visibility for your Monday morning commute. And all that freezing drizzle that we had overnight last night that made things pretty slick is pushing north and east. It's going to make for some really impactful freezing rain, actually. So if any of your travels take you up to the Kawarthas or into eastern Ontario, it might be a little dicey through some of those stretches. But for us, it's going to be a story of growing warmth and rain throughout the day. So it pushes in throughout the afternoon hours, gets a little heavier in through the evening, along with some really gusty winds. So be cognizant of that for your evening commute. But yeah, a run at double digits is pretty nice. We made it at at 8 degrees at Toronto Pearson. It was 11 around St. Catharines. So yeah, some real warmth after, what we survived with the polar vortex this last week, which feels really nice. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the freezing rain risk for our friends and family in parts of eastern Ontario, and when that could rear its head as the next big system, hint, hint, midweek for those of us here in the GTA. Maribel.
We'll enjoy it while it lasts. Thanks, Sophia.
You're welcome.
Well, in a new wide-ranging television interview, U.S. President Donald Trump spoke candidly and combatively on a number of issues. We'll have details after the break. The U.S. president has had a bitter relationship with the media during his 2 years in office, but it seems a kinder, gentler approach may be in play. Today, Donald Trump sat down for a wide-ranging television interview. Paul Hunter reports.
For all of Donald Trump's put-downs of the press, he's lately seemed remarkably willing to engage in scrum after scrum, taking question after question, even agreeing this weekend to what he refused to do last year, a TV interview timed for Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, look, the Russia thing is a hoax.
As he does, Trump repeated many of his long-stated positions, but on, as he put it, the Russia thing, and whether he wants the eventual report from the special counsel looking into possible links between the 2016 Trump campaign and Russia made public, he hedged.
It's up to the Attorney General. I don't know. It depends. I have no idea what it's going to say.
And remember the summit last year with North Korea's Kim Jong-un? Trump says he'll likely announce by Tuesday the date of a second summit with Kim.
I like him. I get along with him great. We have a fantastic chemistry.
Just last week, he downplayed testimony from his top intelligence chiefs who said since last year's summit, Kim has shown no sign of abandoning his nuclear program. And on Iran's nuclear aspirations, something else the intelligence chiefs have downplayed, said Trump he wants to keep U.S. troops in Iraq to keep an eye on Iran.
I want to be able to watch Iran. All I want to do is be able to watch.
And then there's the wall and Trump's threat to declare the border with Mexico a national emergency to free up money to extend that barrier, something top Democrat Nancy Pelosi has long fought against.
She can keep playing her games, but we will win.
In a signal, perhaps, on Trump's thinking, word today the U.S. is sending more soldiers to the border, nearly 4,000 more for 3 months. The stated reason, needed for protection and security. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
To Venezuela now, where there were huge demonstrations in Caracas against Nicolas Maduro's government. While Donald Trump has said U.S. military intervention is an option, Russia's foreign ministry has been telling the world to avoid what it calls destructive meddling. CBC's Adrian Arsenault is in Venezuela with more on where the crisis stands.
He is surely trying, Nicolas Maduro at military exercises today, partly encouraging, partly lecturing troops about loyalty, commanding it, getting his own medal, it seems. Maduro needs Venezuelans and those in the international community to see these moments and believe his strength endures, that his presidency endures. Certainly his language was all about control.
Ellos dicen que en Venezuela va a haber una guerra civil. Ni intervención ni guerra civil. Venezuela va a haber paz. Y esa paz la vamos a garantizar con la unión cívico-militar. Paz. Nuestra victoria va a ser la paz.
But will it? This weekend saw the highest profile defection so far. This Air Force general who urged his fellow officers to switch sides.
Ya la transición a la democracia es inminente.
There's a bit of a show in this as well. This general was in a planning role, didn't command any forces of his own. But a few lower-ranking officers still followed his lead.
Mi general, mis respetos.
And that will make Venezuelan leaders with long memories wince because the Air Force has history here.
A rebel helicopter fired on the presidential palace before it was shot out of the sky by an army gunship.
It attempted a coup here decades ago, leading to a dogfight in the skies before a rebel fighter was shot down. So now Maduro must fear the skies and the streets. The sea of opposition strength yesterday was breathtaking. Rallies stretched beyond Caracas to towns and cities far from traditional anti-government hotspots, places where rallies have not been common. And for all the anxiety of bloody crackdowns in those streets, instead, security forces backed off, even hugged protesters. Either didn't have the heart to go after their own neighbors and friends, or realized the tide is turning.
Sigue la mano extendida a todos los funcionarios.
That's the version of the future Juan Guaido wants to believe in. He insists he is now president, and every day more nations agree. Canada was one of the first to stand by him.
Respetando la Constitución.
His power building, his voice disappearing, he maintained he would arrange for relief shipments into Venezuela. Interesting play. It would force the military to choose, accept the aid and stand by Guaido, or block it and align with Maduro. The U.S. National Security Advisor said the aid is being transported right now. Donald Trump suggesting intervention doesn't have to stop there.
What would make you use the U.S. military in Venezuela? What's the national security
Well, I don't want to say
interest?
that, but certainly it's something that's on the, it's an option.
So what will Washington do? What will Maduro's allies, Russia and China, do? What can Venezuelans do? These are obsessive questions here, and almost all the answers are dangerous. You can't forget Venezuelans have allowed themselves to believe in change before, and they've been disappointed before. But they will tell you this feels different, and this week feels important. In Venezuela, I'm Adrian Arsenault.
A nearly 4-day-long manhunt in BC came to a close early this morning. The suspect in the shooting of a transit officer at a Surrey SkyTrain station was arrested in Burnaby. Police are calling it a high-risk arrest.
Bear in mind, we had an individual that was currently wanted on an outstanding warrant, had shot a police officer, was armed, and had fled. Yeah, those factors up, and it's a high risk to all involved.
Dan Glasgow was charged with being unlawfully at large. He has not been charged in connection with the SkyTrain shooting yet. Glasgow was convicted of manslaughter in 2010. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but was given statutory release in October. Halifax police are looking for a possible hamburglar after Nova Scotia woman had someone spend almost $500 of her money at a Montreal McDonald's. The woman says the culprit used her McDonald's cell phone app to pay. CBC's Anjali Patil has more.
McDonald's My McD's app was designed to make it easier for customers to order. Lauren Taylor says she's had the app for a few months, but last week the Halifax woman says she started getting dozens of purchase confirmation emails from her McDonald's app, which she thinks that she never even bought. Orders of Big Macs, fries, hotcakes, and Egg McMuffins at 5 different McDonald's restaurants in the Montreal area between January 25th and January 29th. The total, $483.65. Taylor's app is connected to her bank accounts, so when she checked that, there was less than $2 left. She says she has no idea how this happened. McDonald's Canada says there was no breach with its app and says it takes appropriate measures to keep personal information secure. It recommended customers have unique passwords, never share them, and change them frequently. Taylor says she does all that, and CBC News has learned that she's not the only one from Halifax who's had this happen to them. A man named Brett O'Donnell says someone in Mirabel, Quebec, accessed his app on January 17th and ordered a Big Mac and 30 chicken McNuggets. He caught the emails right away, and whoever was using it managed to only spend $50. The good news? O'Donnell was able to get his money back, and Taylor says the bank will put the money back into her account too. She ended up getting the police involved, and Halifax Regional Police confirmed to CBC News it is investigating the incident. Anjali Patil, CBC News, Halifax.
A live look at the Toronto skyline right now. It is 6 degrees out there. Will the positive temperatures last? We'll have your long-range weather forecast after the break.
we really want to showcase what our culture has. What are some of the things that we do?
The Chinese New Year is just around the corner, and the city of Vaughan hosted a celebration today in preparation for the Year of the Pig. Families got a chance to try their hand at Chinese calligraphy, button making, games, and more.
We have community from the Italian community and different society coming into sharing this, and they love it. And to hear the comments back afterwards saying, this is great, we love it, it was so much fun, we got to taste the food, we got to see calligraphy. They just thought, that to me is ultimately the goal. And if we're able to achieve that, I think it's the best thing.
City councillors also took part in an eye-dotting ceremony, a tradition meant to wake up the lion. Just in time for some lovely temperatures to ring in a Lunar New Year, Sophia.
Yeah, it was a great day to get out and interact with the community and see some sights, and it will continue to be warm for Monday. But my message for the long-range forecast is pretty much buckle up for the temperature roller coaster. Just watch in the next 12 to 24 hours. We're talking about what's going to feel like a 10-degree temperature drop. So Monday, Reader's Digest version, rainy, warm. You get a run at the double digits though, which could be really nice. North wind below seasonal for Tuesday, and then the potential of an active storm track setting up for midweek. More of a significant freezing rain event possible. It's still early though, so check back in with us a few times before that. Temperatures will eventually head back down to the basement, but shall we bask in the warmth of the start of the work week for a minute? Because look, yes, the potential of double digits yet again for especially areas south and west of Lake Ontario, but that extra southerly flow will come with rain, especially in some of those same areas, and especially as you head into the Monday evening commute. Mention again the fog for your Monday morning commute, but with the rain in the evening is also going to come a gusty southerly flow. So yes, it'll be warm, but gusts 50 to 60 kilometers an hour, not out of the question, blowing around some of that rain. And it is especially through the evening hours. So watch as the extra push of moisture comes after the initial push in the afternoon, and then a little bit more steam over Lake Superior for that evening as a rain event, which is nice. But remember, we got to talk about the flood risk too, right? Because there's quite a bit of snow still on the ground. Heavy to moderate rain will accelerate that snow melt, so you want to make sure that the storm drains are clear. And then Tuesday, if there is any water left on the ground, well, maybe it'll get a little icy. Northerly flow sets up in place for Tuesday, and our temperatures are again below seasonal. All that freezing drizzle that we had into last night overnight period is shifting north and east. Tricky drive, prolonged freezing rain, and for those of you around the GTA, it's fog for the Monday morning commute.
Okay, a little messy. Thanks, Sophia. CBC is joining in the celebration of Black History Month with an online page dedicated to stories about being Black in Canada. One of those stories looks at the life of businesswoman Viola Desmond. She is the first Canadian-born woman to appear on the country's $10 bill, and no one is happier than her sister, Wanda Robson.
I never dreamed that all this journey, I will call it, about Viola would come to this heights.
You can see more of that interview with Wanda Robson and check out other Black History Month stories at cbc.ca/beingblack-in-Canada. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. You can stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. Before we go, we're going to leave you with a look at the Lion Dance performance in Vaughan today in honor of the Lunar New Year. Have a great night, everyone.